Hello and welcome. We begin with South Africa, where time is running out for the African National Congress to shore up partners to form the next government. The ANC lost its majority for the first time in 30 years in the May 29th general election. However, it still remains the largest party, with 159 seats in the 400-seat National Assembly. The ANC is way short of majority to form government. Now, this risks Cyril Ramaphosa's presidential bid, leaving his future hanging in the balance. On Tuesday, the ANC top brass sat down to discuss coalitions and possible partners. A 27-member ANC working committee weighed alternatives. However, the options that it stares at are diametrically opposite to what the ANC stands for. Now, according to a report in South African outlet the Daily Maverick, the ANC is considering three forms of power-sharing alliance. The first and the most preferred option is to form a minority government. For this, the ANC will look at a confidence and supply agreement with the DA and IFP. Under this, the ANC would hold executive power and the DA would have the upper hand in Parliament, holding the Speaker's seat and powerful committee positions, while the IFP too will have some positions in Parliament. In return, the DA and IFP will support the ANC government on key votes, including budget and policy concessions. The second best option is a coalition government between the ANC, the DA, and the IFP. The challenge for the ANC here is that this could risk party supporters and pose challenges in policy alignment, and it is expected to serve more like a marriage of convenience. The Democratic Alliance, or DA, presents itself as a champion of business and free market economics, but it has often been accused of representing the interests of the privileged white minority. The DA also favors scrapping some of the ANC's flagship black empowerment measures, which it says have not worked. Now, the last and least favorable option is a government of national unity. In this scenario, the ANC would join hands with a much wider array of smaller parties. However, this could create a volatile political situation, which may likely lead to an unstable government or may even result in a collapse. Now, if one or more parties were to withdraw, it could effectively leave the ANC with no option but to form a coalition with Jacob Zuma's MK party and the EFF. South Africa's new parliament must convene by the 16th of June, and one of its first tasks will be to choose the nation's president. Now, as Cyril Ramaphosa is set to face resignation pressure, the ANC must choose its most viable option to keep him in power. Now, to understand this better, we have with us Christopher Van Dam, a senior research fellow on the Africa program at Chatham House. He joins us live from Johannesburg, South Africa. Thank you for being with us.
Hi, Alyson. Thanks very much for having me on.
Right, now it's great to speak to you. The ANC is currently in talks to secure a coalition partner. No deal is going to be easy considering the options. Who, in your view, is the ANC likely to form a coalition with?
Yeah, look, I mean, you've run through the options that they've got on the table. They need to speak to the Democratic Alliance as the largest party of opposition, and they need to speak to other partners as well. The challenge that they have is that the difference between the number of seats that they currently hold and that majority of getting the kind of 50% plus one that they need in order to be able to elect through a president is either going to require working with the Democratic Alliance, like you say, either through a supply and confidence agreement or a formal coalition, is either going to then, or you can work
Right.
with the economic freedom fighters, but the EFF are still going to be 2 seats short of that majority. And then you've got a plethora of smaller parties that you can work with. And the documents that you have that you alluded to that kind of outline these options of confidence and supply, or a formal agreement, or this kind of broad government of national unity, that was the subject of discussion, and it seems like there's not a significant amount of conclusion other than hints that they're going to be talking to everybody, and that they've reached out to Mkhonto Wesizwe, but as yet Mkhonto Wesizwe have not picked up the phone and have not been part of those discussions so far. So, and the ANC itself is characteristically a broad church, as they like to call themselves. It's got a lot of different interest groups within that, a lot of different alliance partners, including having governed for the last 30 years in alliance with the Congress of South African Trade Unions, COSATU. And COSATU is saying, no, we don't want to work with the DA, or don't want to work with the DA alone. So even within that 27-person body that you talk about, there's very, very different views pulling in different directions. And it seems that there's no real certain or clear answer on this issue just yet.
Right. And what challenges and opportunities does a coalition government or the partnership present to South Africa?
Look, on the upside, South Africa has got a constitution that is designed for pluralism. It's designed to have multiple inputs into a system of government. And for the last 30 years, it has been dominated by one single party. So there's a huge opportunity now for this kind of trade-off on issues and issues-based policy formation, so that you get lots of people inputting into that process. Now that is a positive, and it's a positive in that you get multiple voices now being heard. The issues are twofold. One is the uncertainty for international investors and for domestic investors. It's really not clear yet who's going to be part of any form of alliance, what form that would take. And even when we do have an answer to this within the next couple of weeks, there's going to be a huge amount of uncertainty as to how long that formation would be able to hold together. In recent years, South Africa has had experience of coalitions at a provincial and a metro level. And these metro coalitions have gone through repeated cycles and shown themselves to be very unstable. So that's one of the issues. Another one of the issues is clearly that these parties don't have a huge amount in common when it comes to some of the key policy issues that they're going to have to address. And so there's going to have to be a new framework for how to find that consensus and how to find a way forward in working together. And particularly when it comes to working, the two big parties, the ANC and the DA, getting over some of the historical issues around race and some of those social conversations. It's going to be really, really difficult for them.
Absolutely. You just touched on my next question with regard to South African policies. How might these coalition talks and coalition affect and impact South African policies?
Yeah, ultimately, these parties are coming from very, very different ideological positions, including around the role of the state in the economy. Who should be providing jobs? Should it be the state? Should it be the private sector? Should it be a blend of the two? So in that sense, that we're going to have a real issue around finding a way forward on some of those. Having said that, I think that the DA and the ANC are committed to constitutionalism, and they are committed to fiscal responsibility. So even the ANC doesn't have big spending plans, it has shown that it's been able to govern with a level of fiscal responsibility. And so those issues, I think, having at least a broad agreement at that headline level is going to make it in some way a bit easier to iron out some of the challenges below, and the list of priorities. There's a lot of agreement around what those priorities are. It's job creation, it's reducing crime, and it's improving electricity generating capacity and electricity access. So at least there's an agreement on what the key priorities are, even if there's going to have to be a lot of discussion and debate on the best way of tackling those issues.
Right. Christopher, thank you very much for being with us on Firstpost Africa and your analysis there. Firstpost reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alyson Grange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global South. Join me every weekday live on Firstpost.